Welcome to this podcast, Holistic Creators, where we share our unique and universal stories about shaping the future for the 4 Ps: people, planet, purpose, and profit. My name is Swanette. I'm a mental coach and your host of this show. My intention for this show is to inspire you on your path to a holistic future. So welcome. Welcome to my podcast, Holistic Creators. My name is Swanette and I'm your host. Today my guest is Angelic Ingram. She is a holistic health practitioner, mindfulness coach, and author. So welcome to my show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Swanette.
Yeah, and I'm absolutely curious. You have been through your own journey that you are now helping people with. So let us know a little bit what has happened to you so that you can now really support other people with that.
Yes, thank you. As you said, I'm a holistic health practitioner, mindfulness coach, and now author, and I'm based in San Diego, California. And what has brought me into what I'm doing today, which is mainly the mindfulness coaching, is over 20 years ago, I was affected by some trauma, and that manifested into autoimmune condition that literally swept me off my feet. I was confined to a wheelchair for a while, and going through that journey and the dark places that we all go through, right? We all have the adversities in our lives that it's hard to navigate through when you don't have the resources and the things within yourself to help you heal through that journey. But thankfully for me, it opened up some new windows into holistic care, alternative medicine, and I immersed myself into that as a personal journey for myself. And then I fell into getting my license because I wanted to help the community as well. I wanted to help others get through their adversities in life. So that's where it's brought me in today. I launched my coaching business in 2015 when I was living in the UK. And I've just been loving it. I've been loving the work. And especially now, it's hard out there. It's a world of uncertainty, chaos, a lot of fear, a lot of things to process. So it's important that we reach out to the people who get us and understand us and can help us navigate through those adversities. So that's why I'm doing what I do today.
Yeah, wow, this is so amazing. And I would like to hear a little bit more about these moments that you really felt that you are in this darkness and were dependent on other people. And so to get a little bit of more understanding, what has been the situation you have gone through and how much willpower and connection you have that you also can share with each other. Yeah.
Sure. As I said, there was some trauma back there just over 20 years ago. I was married before. And that trauma, I don't want to go into too much detail because it is written in my book. I have just recently launched a book with my story, my full story of what that was like. But I will, go into the manifestation from that trauma, which was my autoimmune disease. And after that particular trauma, about a year and a half later, I started to feel like short of breath. And I started to feel like something was definitely wrong with my body. And my husband at the time thought, oh, it's just you're out of shape. You haven't been walking, you haven't been exercising. And I thought, okay, well, maybe he's right. Because I hadn't been doing exercises. I was a avid power walker during that time and always playing sports and things like that. I was 31 years old and all of this, the trauma, I should go back a little bit. The trauma happened a year after we got married. So we were newlyweds having to deal with this trauma. And then a year and a half later, having to deal with what came next, which was these symptoms that started to over time gradually increase. And so, yes, I thought, I just need to get out there and start working out again. I need to start walking again. But then I started to notice some muscle weakness. And the pain that started to settle in. I was working for a pediatrics office at the time, and I noticed as the days went on that I was unable to like lift my arms, and really the range of motion was it was becoming limited. And I started to panic. I started to, okay, something is seriously wrong with my body and I need to go um, and get this sorted. So I went in to see a doctor. And of course, they didn't have the answer, and she didn't want to get any other testing. She just thought, okay, she agreed with my husband. It's just, you're just out of shape, whatever. And okay, well, like, she knows best. We listen to our doctors, don't we? And so I went home and the symptoms still started increasing. And then one night when I was leaving work, I was gathering some books that the kids had left in the waiting room, and I was putting them back on the bookshelf. And I went to get myself up and I couldn't do it. And Swanette, it was like something had just overcame me. I mean, it was like the panic. My heart just fell to my feet because what was happening to me? Why was this happening to me? Why couldn't I get back up? I didn't have the strength. And oh, what that does to someone, maybe some of your listeners can relate. It's such a hard, difficult thing to just really accept that something was seriously going wrong. And so a nurse was walking by, a good friend of mine, and she came over to help me up, and she sent me home. She said, "Don't worry about it. We'll take care of your duties and just go home and call your doctor." And so I did, but as I was walking through the parking lot, I kept thinking, okay, trying to calm myself down, knowing that I needed to drive myself home, which is about a 30-minute drive. And that's when like the pain really started to hit me because I could barely turn my head to look back to see, when I was backing up, I could barely hold on to the steering wheel. It took all of my energy to do that. By the time I got home, my husband saw me out the window and he came to my aid and he helped me come into the house. I could barely walk. When I parked my car, I literally had to lift my legs out of the car with the strength that I had, and which was very little. And so needless to say, the next morning it was worse and I couldn't get dressed. I had to call into my office and let them know I wasn't going to be coming in. And that was my last day, my first day actually of disability. And it was a journey since then, going through the doctor's appointments, finally getting the recognition and the support that I needed from my doctor, getting the referral that I needed. And during that time, I was just getting worse and worse. I could not lift my arms, so I couldn't wash my hair. I couldn't brush my own teeth. I couldn't, do the things that we all do every day, right? That we just take for granted. And I was panicking. And, the uncertainty of not knowing what was happening to me. And by the time I was referred to a rheumatologist, I was already in a wheelchair because I could not walk. My breath was very labored. I started to have problems swallowing food. I was experiencing dysphagia, so I had to start drinking protein shakes for my meals, which was very hard. This really affected obviously my mentality, my mindset. I fell into some depression, of course. Just the uncertainty until I was able to get diagnosed, which took about 4 months, and which seemed like 4 years, to be honest. It just seemed like so long, like it took them forever to figure out what was wrong with me. And the muscle biopsy from my leg was what determined my dermatomyositis, which is what it's called. It's a rare autoimmune disease that affects muscles and, in my case, the skin as well, because I had a rash on my face and on my joints as well. And they had thought I had lupus at first, but that was not the case until they took the muscle biopsy. So that confirmed the dermatomyositis, which I thought, okay, what the heck is this? I've never heard of this before. I didn't even know how to spell it. I was like, what is this? But I was thankful. There was a relief there that at least know now that, okay, I know what it is. It is incurable, but there is treatment there to manage it. And, I was able to, you know, respond well to the first protocol of treatment, which was a little bit of chemo and the steroids, of course, that they pump you up with for the inflammation. But, this journey was just, it was very hard. And, as I mentioned before, I wrote my story finally in a book that I just recently launched. And having to go back to write that story and relive those moments really, really took me back, to the parts of me that I still haven't quite processed, that I still had to like touch in to give myself the space to process them again. And the areas that I thought were gone, but were still there, through that trauma and through the moments of my disease that I was dealing with. And it took me almost 3 years to get out of that chair, rehabilitate myself, and regain my strength so that I can rise up again and start helping other people. So it's dark places like that that can either make us or break us, right? And it's just about how we rise up from that, and how we can help ourselves learn from those moments of darkness that can really make us stronger and strengthen our hearts, so that we can continue thriving, and so, yeah, that's my story through, the trauma and the illness, so I'm just grateful for the lessons that I did learn through that journey.
Yeah, thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing your story. And also, and let us understand that there were moments that people thought you were all making this up and that you are not really severely ill. But then this journey and also like finding the right doctor until you were diagnosed. I think this happens with other people as well, that they feel something is wrong in their body, like it's feeling not good. There's something intuitively they know that they are sick, but they go to the one doctor and the next one, and they get whatever. So like, go and exercise a little bit more, eat healthier, and whatever.
Right.
Take this
right,
and everything is fine. And you feel, no, this is not true for me. And
that's right. Yeah, we know our bodies and we know when something is definitely wrong. But sometimes it's hard for us to advocate for ourselves. For myself, I was in so much pain, Swanette, that, and when you're in so much pain, you can't really speak up. You really can't use your voice to advocate for the things that you need. And thank God that, my husband at the time was there for me. He was my voice, because I could barely lift my head up to even look at my doctor in the eye, much less speak what I needed, to speak, and with these invisible illnesses, these chronic illnesses that people can't see, it really is really hard. And, I try and strengthen my empathy around that instead of taking things personally, that, okay, this doctor, they know the science. They know the science behind these conditions, and stuff, but they're not miracle workers either. They don't know how to empathize. They don't know how to put themselves in someone else's shoes, and nobody can. I mean, we have to accept this from our friends and family who don't understand what we're going through. And it's really hard to let go of that and just accept the people in our lives for who they are. We can't control what they don't understand, but we need to find the people who do. And we need to find the support and networks that of the people who can help us through this, and do get it. So, it's tough. We're learning constantly about how we see the world and other people, through these illnesses and through these dark places, whatever your trauma is, and strengthening yourself, and not blame and not judge and not, get hurt by what we can't.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I had not this kind of experience, but another one that when I was 8 years old, I had a near-death experience. And it was a moment that I was in coma and the doctors didn't know what happened to me. And so they thought it would be a meningitis and stick in a long needle into my spinal cord to take out some liquor and to analyze that. And I was kind of going into the light, and it was so peaceful and so calm. And next moment I was pushed back into my body and woke up from my own screaming and then fell in coma again. And I had an experience as a child, like fainting away, being in coma, sometimes only for some minutes, but at this time, for example, it was for 2 days. And the doctors really didn't know what it was. It was too low blood pressure or meningitis or whatever. They came up with ideas, but they really didn't know what it was. And I took so many different medications against whatever, but it was not the reason. I only figured out when I studied chemical environmental technology that I was toxified by pesticides. During that time, my parents had painted the wooden ceiling with some paint that included insecticides, and these were neurotoxins. And what would kill insects will also kill little children. So I accumulated all these pesticides inside my body, and yeah, the reason that I had these moments over and over again. And no, of course, at that time, nobody was aware of that. Otherwise, no, they could find a solution. And only years after, it became clear what was the reason. And so,
wow.
Yeah. So
well, I'm so glad, that they were able to sort that out, that they were able to determine what that cause was, so, because I know, it takes so many years, even with patients that have my condition of myositis, it can take years for diagnoses to come around. And that's difficult when you're sitting in pain and you're not well. And that uncertainty can really put us down that black hole of just scarcity and so much fear.
Yeah, and also getting what you said, dependent on other people. That you said you didn't have your life under control. I didn't have my life under control. I had the feeling it could happen every moment again, and then I was falling down wherever I was. And so also I think these moments of having no control, insecurity, dependency on others, I think this makes a lot of impact also in understanding how we live in a connection to others as well, like being weak and being dependent on others.
Right. And I don't see it as a sign of weakness. I think it's just the condition, the human condition, that we are brought up to have such personal attachments to not just the things that, we have in our lives, but the people, and we attach ourselves so deeply, of course, with our parents and our siblings and our peers. And that's why we grieve so much when we do lose, we have a sense of loss. And for me, I think, I had to move not only through those kinds of attachments, but the loss of myself, the who I was before I got sick. And that process was a long time for me to get through that grief of, wow, I can no longer do some things that I used to do, and I have to be more gentle with myself. And I have limitations now that I need to be mindful of, and accept that and be grateful for the things that I still can do, but it's difficult when, we attach ourselves and we have these conditions that we have to move through that can really keep us stuck in living a life that's not our own, right? And believing the things that we aren't necessarily um, in belief for ourselves, but believing things for others, taking on the life of living to please others. And I was stuck in that place for so long. And I think too, that these things have happened for me to wake up and see that no, you need to live your life for your truth, for your happiness, for your joy, regardless of what other people might think. And it's hard to break from. It's hard to break through those barriers that hold us back and set the boundaries that we need to put in place so that we can find our joy and that we can find and live our true joyful lives, right? And we all deserve that. So I know that feeling of not being able to break through that. But I'm so grateful that my journey has led me into that place where I can.
For me, it sometimes also feels like, okay, we had a kind of identity before or a construct who we are. And then
Yeah.
we come into these kind of situations and we really go deep. And what you said, you open yourself up, perhaps connect. For me, it was connecting with a higher source as well. And
Mm.
understanding so much more about our true identity and learning about ourselves and then coming out as a totally different person. And you said, no, it was like being burned and then rising again. So what helped you, despite these learnings, what helped you to come through this moment of darkness and going up again and rising again?
Yeah. So when I got out of the chair, my wheelchair, and started to get back into my body and just really stay mindful of my rehabilitation, regaining my strength. Like I said, I immersed myself into holistic care and alternative medicine. And I was taking courses to help better myself more organically and be more mindful of what I wanted to invite into my life and how I wanted to take care of my body from that point on. And so I became a holistic health practitioner, got my license. And with that, I started to surround myself with the community in that area of organic, genuine support and really just opening up my mind and heart to the things and the lessons and like the references, the books and the things that were making sense to me suddenly, books like The Four Agreements from Don Miguel Ruiz, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. I started to just dive into all of these different thought leaders and their lessons. And again, it all just made sense to me. And, I started to immerse myself more into a mindfulness practice and giving myself the space to be more mindful of where my thoughts were going and how I was thinking and the things that weren't really the truth that I thought were the truth for so long, and just saying, wow, I have been living my life through with these beliefs and it's like, wow, it's not even true. I need to just break free for myself, for my own mental wellness. I need to do this. And at that point, it's just like the more and more I did those things, the more and more I was more mindful of being in the present moment, not sweating the small stuff anymore like I used to. I used to be such a worrier and what if, and life is too short. We have to let go of those kinds of things so we can live more peacefully and, find the joy in everything. It's not about always being happy. It's not always about being positive because we're human. We're going to have those moments in life of loss and disappointment and hurt. That's okay. But we have to live those, through those emotions and we have to feel that because those are the things that challenge us to strengthen our hearts even more so that we can open ourselves up to more of the possibilities that keep us thriving through our lives, and not stay stuck in those places, because it can be easily done. But the more and more I have practiced my mindfulness, the more and more I feel much lighter, and I feel like, okay, this time around, after 20 years of remission, I've relapsed again, just last year, and my myositis came back. And on top of that, I was diagnosed with two other autoimmune conditions, rheumatoid arthritis and Sjogren's syndrome. But now, Swanette, now I'm in a place where, okay, this is my life right now, and I'm having to manage this. And I have my days, but for the most part, I know that I can just go back in and to myself. And I know what helps me, and I have the practices and the tools and resources, everything that I need inside myself and around me to just keep me uplifted and to keep me thriving through what is now another part of life. And so with that, it's just those are the things that really have kept me going, and knowing that I have the power to really take care of my own mental wellness. And it's not about whatever anyone else says or feels that I should be doing. I know in my heart what I need to have. And I know that I need to follow my intuition, which can be very hard for people to follow that intuition. I've neglected it for half my life. We do that sometimes, and that's part of, the learning process. So these are the things that have really, have kept me in that place where I want to be, and invite in the joy and the balance by really just accepting and being patient with myself, being kind to myself when I have those bad days, reaching out to my community when I need them, because we're never alone. We are never alone in our journeys.
Yeah, I think also that the beliefs we do have about ourselves and this automated thoughts we have, this all creates our reality. And as soon as we start getting clear about what do we believe about ourselves, what do we believe about the world, and change that, transform that into something positive and control our thoughts as soon as they come up. Okay, this is a loop. I had this before. Stop it. Let's see, why is this coming up and how can I change that? How can I change my focus so that I can become the creator of my life by having the right thoughts and not being the victim and see what is happening to me. I think this is important, like having this kind of clearing of the thoughts and getting aware what is like this loop that is coming over and over, or this, in Germany, we would say painting the devil on the wall, like,
Right.
yeah, we make up things that will never happen. We construct things and situations that will never appear. And we spend our time with that, thinking about something that happened in the past and will never happen in the future, but are not present in this moment. And I think this is something that is super important, getting aware of the thoughts, being in the present moment, and from here we can create.
Right. And that's exactly how, I see it as well, and it's really hard to be mindful and aware of our thoughts. And, the one way I tell my clients, that we can do this together is to just, for them to just be simply aware of when they have a negative thought, and just be aware of it, and start to see the pattern in which you start to, in what you're thinking. How often are these negative thoughts coming in? Is it about yourself? Are you doubting yourself? Are you judging yourself? Are you judging others? Are you blaming others? And just simply be aware of that for, a while, maybe a week or so, and then start to notice those patterns, and where you might shift. You might want to look into that. For myself, when I ever have that kind of thought that does not serve me, I think, okay, why am I thinking this? What is it that's really behind this thought? Am I just insecure of myself? Is that an insecurity that I need to address right now? And is that even true? Right? Because our thoughts are so powerful. And when we have this belief, like for example, like if someone doesn't call you back and you know that they're available, you know that they're, around, you start to think of, oh gosh, did I say something? Was it something that I said? Or, was it because I did this? Maybe they're mad at me and you start to rile yourself up and your body responds to that. Your body is responding to that physically, that you're getting some anxiety, you're getting a little fearful of what that other person might be thinking about you. Or you start just to make up a story, and we believe that. And so we start to react to that. And I've done that so many times. I mean, I've gotten to the point where I actually might break out in like hives or something, and that was really powerful. Um, and then come to find out that, there was an emergency and it had nothing to do with you. It had nothing to do with you at all. And then, okay, then you come back down. So we do that to ourselves a lot of the time. And if we can just be aware of that, for instance, we can start to settle our minds and our bodies down in so many, great ways where we can just be we in control of that. We can control that. Let go of those narratives, let go of those thoughts, let go of those ideas that are manifesting in here and not making us well for no reason at all, right? I mean, I'm sure you've done it, Swanette, where, we make up stories and that affects us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally relate to that. And but I'm now aware about my own beliefs and filters, and of course, I clear.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's what we want our listeners, right, to acquire for themselves, because it's a matter of your wellness, your mental wellness, your physical wellness.
Yeah. And as you said, like our thoughts not only create our reality, like in the outer world, but also there's a kind of a chemical response inside of our body, like whatever hormones, for example, come up. And with that, you will have a body reaction. And
right.
if you have this over and over again, then this will also manifest inside of your body. And many symptoms show up because of the connection to thoughts you have about yourself. And
right.
yeah, if you, for example, don't feel self-love or judge yourself, perhaps you will get problems with your heart. Or if you're always angry and you will find problems inside of your stomach. So whatever organ will respond, but
absolutely.
So how do you see that? Yeah, how do you see that?
Oh, well, I use breath work a lot to keep myself present and to keep myself in my body, to really stay in tune. Okay, what parts of my body are needing my attention? Where do I need to nurture my body? And for me, I think, again, going through what I'm currently, relapsing with my health issues once again, I'm finding it that I'm going back to grieving myself when I was in remission, right? And those 20 years of freedom, so to speak, that I had from from my condition. So I'm holding it a lot in my hips, and so I've been paying more attention to my hips, and, doing what I need to do, whether it's a beautiful yin yoga practice, just immersing myself in water, with some beautiful Epsom salts. I'm taking care of how I'm being called to. And it's different for everybody. Everybody might be called to maybe running, having a nice jog or doing a nice nature walk or simply just stretching, whatever it is. But I do a lot of breath work just to stay in my body and keep myself where I need to be in that emotion, whatever that is. so that I can move through it and continue giving myself the power to thrive with each and every day. So breath work is such a powerful tool that we can use to just stay in the moment, stay in the body, and become a little bit more aware of what our bodies are needing. Um, and I like to write as well. I do a lot of writing, and that's such a wonderful way to release a lot of our emotions, a lot of our griefs. Some people need to go out and work out, again, whatever calls you. And also, kind of brings you joy as well, because we have to reach out for those things that keep us uplifted and the heart centered. So those are a few things that I use on a daily basis, and I create like a somewhat ritual, in the mornings and also towards the evenings before I go to sleep. It's important to have those little areas in our lives, throughout our days where we can just pay attention to ourselves. And I know it can be difficult if we have families and children and things, but there's always a couple of minutes to spare. There's always time there. We just have to make it and create that space, whether it's 5 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever that is, do what you can to give yourself that space to do what you need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's better to book in some me time in your calendar to see that you are important.
Right.
Well. Yeah, you take care of everybody around you, but you have to take care about yourself. Otherwise, you will not be able to take care of others on the long run. So
absolutely.
I would say have this, whatever it is, morning meditation and gratefulness and perhaps the journaling in the evening or whatever you use, and book in the me time in your calendar so that is important. Yeah, it is important as making the food, and it is important like bringing the children to the school. Me time is important. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So let us go a little bit further to see who are clients, typical clients that would come to you, and how does the process looks like you're going through with them?
Yeah, I work with people who usually resonate with me in terms of just feeling stuck, not knowing how to get to that place and not knowing what to do to find their success, to find their joy, feeling stuck and not feeling as happy as they know they can be. And, I help them through that with, my mindfulness program. And we customize, our work together. However they, their lifestyle, according to their lifestyle, what do they need? And sometimes it's just like one conversation where, we're just having an exploration of what it is that they're dealing with. What do they feel challenged by? And sometimes they get clarity just like that, and they say, okay, well, maybe I don't need it. I already know, because we all know, right, what is really there. And sometimes it takes a conversation with somebody else on the outside to help guide and ask the right questions to trigger what's right in front of them and what they've already knew. But with my program, we're on the journey together, and it's simply just guiding them through whatever they're feeling challenged by. And again, just customizing the work according to their lifestyle and taking that journey together, exploring the possibilities, moving through those thoughts, those beliefs that are holding them back, and being able to address them with kindness and some compassion, and getting them through that to where they're in a space where they can start taking care of themselves personally, because it's really about breaking through those personal barriers that we hold on ourselves, as we were just speaking of. And once you can get through there and into that space of inviting in more joy and doing the things that you need to do for your self-love, for yourself, mental wellness, your physical wellness, then you can start to invite and let the abundance just fall in, so that's the background of the people that I work with, and I'm always happy to connect with everyone, because we all need to share our stories and our experiences with each other, so we can continue learning from each other and supporting one another.
What are these kind of blockages or barriers that your clients do have? You said this can be in business context, but also in private life. Can you give us some examples?
Yeah, I do. I do work with a lot of people who are in a career transition, not knowing what their next step is. They're feeling like maybe they're unhappy with their current work, and it's holding them back, from doing what they really want to do. And so we explore that, and we go into this whole different idea of the possibilities that are there, and again, the beliefs that can hold us back from coming out of our comfort zones and being able to just leave something and start something new and something fresh, because it's possible, but we get stuck in that fear of what if, right? So we get, I guide them through that so that they can find their power again. They can find that confidence to, what, this is what I need to do. This is exactly what I need to do. I want to do what I love, what my purpose, I feel that I want to fall into. This is my purpose, and break from that and break out of those jobs that are keeping you stuck, or those relationships that are keeping you stuck and unhappy, or how you can manage it better. How your relationship can completely change if maybe it's your thought patterns that are keeping you stuck. And it's the idea that it's a bad relationship, but it's really not, because it is mind over body, and it is mind over, so we explore everything. And it's about vulnerability. You have to be able to face those fears and insecurities that we have in order to find that peace and that balance and the love and success and everything that we want in our lives. It can be us, we're the ones holding us back. And so you have to be willing to do this work. You have to be willing to open yourself up and face the trauma, face those fears, and let yourself go, and it's gonna be hard. It's hard work, believe me. And you and I, Swanette, have gone through our journeys, and we know how hard that is to face ourselves. It's a scary thing to look in the mirror, right? And accept us and what we're coming with, and how we are controlling and sabotaging our own lives. So, it's a work. It's definitely work, but that's why we reach out for people to help us through that and guide us through that, so we can stay gentle and we can stay patient and compassionate for ourselves, and can take those journeys with us, and hold our hands through that, with love and kindness and unbiased, no judgment, and, just human love and connection.
Yeah, so true. And we know that the work is worth it because we know the outcome. And perhaps
Yes.
you want to share some outcomes of a client that have been through this journey and this process with you, and now no, they feel so different and see, okay, looking back, this was right.
Yes, they
Right.
have, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, my clients, like, look back and say, wow, what a transformation. This has been just so enlightening that, I was the one holding myself back all this time. And now look at me, I'm married, or I'm doing what I love to do. And, and I'm not sweating the small stuff anymore. I'm not worried about other things on the outside. And it's a liberation. right? That fills our heart and lights us up. And so, and that's what I want for everyone. That's what I want for everyone because it is a wonderful feeling. We know that there is light at the end of that dark tunnel that we sometimes feel stuck in.
Yeah, and often can't see the light or not able to go through the tunnel by ourselves. So therefore, it's super
That's
important to reach out to people like you, for example, because
right.
perhaps we are vulnerable at that time and we need someone who stands by our side and who is strong and can guide us, hold the space for the transformation so that we can do the change. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
So how are you working? You're working online or in person, all over the world, or just in the UK
Yeah,
or that?
I'm working remotely. Yes, I'm working online and I travel quite a bit. Well, up until recently, with my husband. We still have our home in the UK. So yes, I work remotely and I love connecting with people again, just to again share our experiences, share and support each other. But mainly, yes, I'm online. And I will see, clients locally in San Diego, but mainly it's all online work.
Yeah, and you're working one-on-one or also in group programs, or how does it?
No groups yet. No, mainly one-on-one. I would love to do group workshops, groups sessions. I think that would be amazing. But my bandwidth right now is just not. I've been like, as you know, struggling with my health issues, but that's something on the horizon. I definitely want to open myself up to group sessions.
Yeah. So if people now are interested and want to work with you, where do they find you? Of course, already known California, but uh, do you have a website, social media? Tell us a little bit about your book. Where can they find your book?
Yes, yes, I do have a website. It's angelicingram.com. And Angelique is spelled Angelic. So there's a long story behind my name, but but yeah, it's angelicingram.com. I'm all over LinkedIn and Instagram. Um, and I just, as I mentioned before, launched my first book. It's called Women Thrive, Inspiring True Stories of Women Overcoming Adversity. And it's a collaboration that was led out of the Women in Business Club in London, UK. And there's 8 authors, including myself, all women who have written our stories and through our dark places, how we overcame that, and what we're doing and how it's led us to what we're doing today. And really the message behind this book is just all about women empowerment and offering the hope and inspiration for those women out there who need it to continue thriving and falling into their power so they can find more success and happiness and really just create the life that they want. And we're so excited with this book. We launched it just a couple of weeks ago, and overnight we hit 3 best-selling lists on Amazon, 3 the women writers, inspirational stories, and then also spirituality. So we were just so excited of the success of the book already, and you can find it on Amazon. And it's still at a discounted price, I believe. So you can still grab your book. I can share that link with you as well, Swanette. But, we have to, again, just connect and continue creating the networks and the community around us so that we can get through, our lives with more ease and more grace and the people that really genuinely believe in us and support us.
Yeah, this is so amazing. And I know about the book already. So I will put the links in the show notes.
Yes.
That is
Okay.
easy for people to just click and come in contact with you and get the book, of course. Last but not
Great.
least, is there anything that I didn't ask you and you would love to share?
Uh, just, believe in yourself. Know that you have the power to create whatever it is that you want to create. Getting through those barriers, getting through those personal um, areas in our lives that just keep us stuck, whether it's the thoughts or the emotions, and, just be aware that you can lose that. You can lose that and start to create better lives, invite more success and peace. Just believe in yourself. Believe you can do it, because I've been there where, that dark place had kept me stuck for so long. And, it's hard to get through. I get it. I totally get it. And we need to find those people that genuinely understand us and know what we're going through. And they are out there. You just have to reach out. You have to look for them, reach out to them, and gain the support that they're ready to give you. And so believe in yourself and find your power. Find your power and succeed.
Thank you so much for these final words. And thank you so much for being my guest on the show today. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
Thank you for listening or watching my podcast, Holistic Creators. If you want to know more about how I can help and support you, have a look at my website, spiritualchangemaker.com. You can also join my Facebook group, Spiritual Changemakers Community. Stay tuned for the next episode by subscribing to this channel. And you also can check the previous episodes.